Welcome to Writers Radio, and welcome to Women Witnessing, Dreams Before Extinction, an anthology drawn from the first 10 years of Dark Matter Women Witnessing, the online literary journal founded by Lisa Weil in 2015. I'm Carol Harmon, your host and producer for this episode, which is part 2 of a 3-part series. Award-winning editor and translator Lisa Weil taught at Goddard Graduate Institute. She lives in Montreal, Canada. The anthology is hefty, 570 pages, and covers many of the existential topics humanity is faced with today. The voices represented are varied and compelling. Dark Matter has published authors and artists from around the globe in themed issues. I met this community of writers when my own essay, Buffalo Spirit Roams This Land, was published in issue 15. My Body, an Eco-Terrain, from issue 17, is included in the anthology in Fired Anew, What It Means to Heal. For part 2 and 3 of this series, I selected one essay representing each of the 9 sections of the book. I've also chosen a piece by Deena Metzger to introduce the episode. Her idea of a literature of restoration has influenced a number of the writers in this anthology. Deena Metzger is an American writer, medicine woman, and healer, considered by many a visionary, feminist and ecological thinker, and an explorer of imaginal realms.
It is raining. I am listening to rain on the roof and skylights, a rain I have not heard in 4 years. This is not the heavy rain that is still predicted. This is the light rain. It intensifies now as I write these words. It precedes, we hope, the heavy rain that could reach down to the very tips of the deepest roots of the tallest trees to restore the aquifer and the future. I am writing in rhythm with the rain, and it is setting up a path of communication between us, between the rain and myself, after such a long time, a communication in another language. I have been speaking to, praying for the rain, this rain, for almost 4 years, praying as I watch the land parch, watch the animals of the wild desperately seek food and water, watched even as the drought-tolerant purple sage withered and browned. There are animals in these mountains who have never seen rain. We keep a large pail of water filled for the mountain lion, bobcat, coyote, and deer. They all have to learn to drink together and so live together in the feral orchard. We put down bales of alfalfa in the driest winters for the deer and other non-predators, but the animals have to be safe there. We can't lay a trap for prey or an opportunity for predators, and so it is. For more than 4 years, I have been listening for a literature of restoration. Simultaneously, I have been listening for a dialogue with the elementals. I began by praying that the rain would come, but I knew we do not deserve it. So then I prayed for the rain, on behalf of the rain and the other elementals. Such prayers require another language. Indigenous peoples sing to the elements, the ancestors, the spirits. For most peoples and religions, song and prayer are one. In many indigenous languages, prayer and honoring the spirits are embedded in, intrinsic to, each word of the language. To recreate such prayer and honoring is intrinsic to the language of restoration. Beauty is also an essential element of the language and the literature of restoration, but it does not exist if its other face, truth, is not present. Beauty and truth become integrity, and integrity requires responsibility. What we say and how we live and act must be one. The literature of restoration demands this. I am not writing in a straight line. I am writing in a circle. If you write in a circle, then there is a field within it. The field is the earth and the future. A literature of restoration holds the earth and its future in its arms. Here comes the rain. I must speak about the rain in a time of drought. I must speak about the rage and anger of rain. I must speak about the rain as it returns as one who has been in prison or in exile. I could not call for the rain to return. I could only pray for its welfare wherever it had sequestered itself, wherever it was hiding. I could only pray for the soul of the rain, wherever it was confined or held captive. What needs to be offered so the rain can be free to be itself? We must change for the land to be free. In order for the rain to be free, to come to the land that requires it, we must change. We must change entirely. We must change so that we do not live against the earth and we do not live against the rain. We must give our lives to the rain. I give my life.
American healer, author, and poet Miriam Greenspan describes herself as a modern-day alchemist who teaches us to turn pain into wisdom and fear and sorrow into energy to improve the world. Her essay, Seeing in the Dark, represents the chapter To Witness, Seeing in the Dark.
As far back as I can remember, I have been a dreamer of the dark. I have dreamed repeatedly of the suffering of human beings far away and unrelated to me. I have dreamed the past, the present, and the future. Through years of dreaming, I've come to know the feel, clairvoyant, prophetic, or shamanic dreams, to distinguish them from more idiosyncratic personal dreams. I didn't choose dream keeping or shamanic ways of knowing. I didn't decide to see my first child Aaron's eyes before he was conceived or born, or to undergo my own near death in accompanying him through death's doorway. The morning of Aaron's funeral, as we placed his small casket in the ground, I heard the words, as though whispered in my ear, "You are looking in the wrong place." My attention turned from the casket to the open sky, which was blue and cloudless, and I saw there what I can only describe as a magnificent radiance, the light of Aaron's eyes magnified. His communication was clear. Don't be afraid. I'm all right. In the Tungus language of Siberia, the word shaman means one who sees in the dark. In my reading about traditional shamanism, I have learned that a shaman is often initiated with some dark, life-threatening illness or near-death experience. It is not unusual for a shaman to dream of her children before they are born or even conceived. Motherhood at the extreme, at the portal between life and death, was my initiation into shamanic ways of knowing, and motherhood has been my continuing education course. What I have chosen is to not turn away from what's been given to me. The spirits have never let me off the hook. They keep on teaching me, and I keep learning as best as I can, reluctant mystic that I am. While cutting-edge quantum physics hypothesizes about parallel universes and the simultaneity of all time, I can report from my own experiences of dreaming and seeing that time is a convenient illusion, and space is not what we think it is. Our conditioned way of perceiving time and space limits us to what is right in front of us, when we are in fact capable of seeing the past and the future, of dreaming events that have not directly happened to us, of healing at a distance, of knowing beyond the five senses, through dream, vision, through communing with and listening to the spirits that share the earth with us. What we do not learn as children, or unlearn as we grow up and develop a conventional ego, is our interconnectedness in the web of life. Dreamkeeping, as I understand it, is about being interconnected, for better and for worse, in the collective realities, the communal dreams and nightmares of humanity and of the earth. The doorway to vision and spirit, known to indigenous people, taught to me personally, is the open heart. The heart's way of knowing opens the door to the stars, to non-limited seeing and healing. The crisis of ecocide demands no less than a total rebalancing of mind and heart, reason and emotions, spirit and body, light and dark, in order to see, to know, and to feel what we are actually doing to the earth, to the animals and plants, to the air and water, and to ourselves. More than ever, we are called to carry together the massive destruction of the times in which we live. What we know, what we remember, what we dream, is no less than the collective travails of the earth. And from these dreams, I hope, though there are no guarantees, we will be given the gifts of insight, wisdom, imagination, creativity, and energy we need to help heal ourselves and the planet.
Sharon Rodgers Simone sees her work as reckoning, repairing rents between the living and the dead, people, creatures, waters, mountains, rivers, and sacred places. She has moved beyond rigid boundaries of science and Western medicine to heal herself. Because of reduced vision, Sharon was unable to record. You will hear my voice reading from her essay, Fired Anew, in the section, Fired Anew, What It Means to Heal. Fired anew. Healing is a river, a live current, a cascade like the one I loved up in North Cheyenne Canyon growing up. A glissade down a mountain, a drill hole directed straight at one's tectonic plates. If you are fortunate, healing overtakes you, works your stubborn muscles of mind into clay, and fires you anew. I am fortunate. Healing has overtaken me. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic cancer and given 2 months to live. Today, I am well, with no evidence of disease, supported by 9 negative CT scans and normal tumor markers over the past 2.5 years. I owe my well-being to the village sanctuary as I have come to understand it. Every day since I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, I have prayed to recognize and heed signs, warnings, omens, and magic that arrive separate from thoughts and plans or even worries about my state of health or the state of the world. No one told me that this practice or habit would help me navigate the catastrophic undoing and reorganizing underway. I just began, in the quiet that descends upon one living such an illness, to notice, say, raven crying out, or the trees turning from green to golden to barren as the seasons passed outside my window. And in this noticing, a form of communication unfolded, an entire language not rooted in words, but in sounds and moonlight, the hoot of an owl at 2 a.m., when I woke with a nightmare I could not shake, or in the slight movement of leaves in an easy breeze that educated me, comforted me, loosened the heavy cloak of civilized ways of knowing and living from my shoulders, until I woke up well, more well than before I was diagnosed with cancer. Microbe Hunter Girl. I had spent a lifetime pursuing microbes in one way or another, as a microbiologist, science teacher, researcher, in short, a worshiper of Western medicine and its ways of knowing and acting. This old identity took shape when I was 10 years old, as I read and reread Paul de Cruyff's The Microbe Hunters about the greats such as Pasteur von Leeuwenhoek-Lister, studying the immensely small assassins. After this immersion, I asked for a microscope for Christmas. I learned to think, as the microbe hunters did, that killing the microbes and eradicating disease in this way was a healing activity. At that village gathering in the woods in Connecticut in April 2016, where I made the commitment to sacrifice an old identity, the group entered a quiet state of visioning together, listening and looking for guidance separate from our own minds. I closed my eyes and listened to the drum. Immediately, the mountain lion I saw that night in 2012 picked me up at the guardian tree. He took me down the path past the oak grove into Topanga State Park. I was taken through an aperture, some sort of lens, and was shown a phosphorescent green landscape with a few tumbling little creatures I recognized as microbes. Further down the path, I encountered a vast phosphorescent blue-purple landscape with the same situation: devastation. Many dead microbes littered these landscapes, and a rare living one remained tumbling with life. I was stunned and deeply disturbed. The microbes were revealing themselves, for which I was humbled and grateful, and their state of affairs was one of almost total annihilation. Where were these landscapes? In me? On the planet somewhere? Both? In 2016, the year I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, the Great Barrier Reef suffered a massive bleaching event in which 30% of the corals died. A second bleaching event took place in 2017 and wiped out another 20% of the corals. Bleaching is directly related to microorganisms the corals are symbiotically dependent upon for their nourishment and protection. Acidification and higher ocean temperatures alter the microbes. The corals read the chemical changes as dangerous to their lives, and they eject the microbes. As a result, the corals bleach and die. I saw the documentary Chasing Coral. I almost lost my mind when the exact blue-purple, devastated landscape of my vision from 2 years earlier appeared on the screen. The narrator explained, "This beautiful color is not natural to the corals. It only appears when the corals are in their death throes. It was as if they were saying, 'Look at us. We are dying.'" My experience with illness has shown me that it was necessary to reach bedrock in order to heal. My understanding is still evolving, but I know that it has a great deal to do with returning to village ways of knowing, living, and acting. Old ways. Village is a consciousness, a call, and a sentinel in an increasingly violent and dissembling world. It is a place, an orientation and way to live. This village requires a new mind, one that works to restore right relationship with the natural world. Village itself may be being restored in the process. It is predicted that the Great Barrier Reef will succumb completely and soon to the impact of climate change. But perhaps it will not. We don't know the outcome, and if we foreclose possibilities, as I might have done with my prognosis, we may also foreclose the potential for and the enablement of miracles and healing. Healing has meant saying yes. I will sacrifice a beloved old identity on behalf of entering village mind, which is rooted in village ways. So far, the amends I am making to the microbes consist of saying yes on behalf of their survival and the survival of the Great Barrier Reef. I am listening for what else? I am riding this river, this live current, this cascade of healing into the life I was born to live. I am being fired anew. Cynthia Travis co-founded Everyday Gandhis, an NGO which focuses on peace building and post-conflict resolution in Liberia. She is an American writer, photographer, and documentarian. Her essay, Listen with Your Feet, represents the chapter, The Grammar of Animacy.
Listen with your feet. It used to be that elephants migrated over thousands of miles in cycles lasting 200 years or more. Their long memories made it possible to find water, food, and refuge along the way, and to honor their dead. Unerring navigation over vast distances remains encoded in their DNA. By the time the elephants had come full circle many generations later, the trees their forebears had pulled down had regrown, and countless plants and animals had been sustained in the interim. Elephants communicate through infrasonic rumbles and seismic vibrations across hundreds of square miles. When they tilt their massive feet with the edge of their toes to the ground, they are listening. The fatty tissue that cushions their footpads also transmits sound waves to their brains. With their trunks, they can discern scent particles of 1 part per 100 million. They are matriarchal and communal. They mourn their dead, remembering the identity and location of those that have perished. Elephants have an unerring psychic intuition. The morning that the legendary conservationist and elephant whisperer Lawrence Anthony died of a heart attack in 2012, the 2 herds of elephants he had rescued gathered in the pre-dawn light in front of his house at Tula Tula Game Reserve in South Africa. Each year, on the anniversary of his death, they arrive for their silent vigil. In both Sudan and Liberia, when peace came at last after years of protracted war, elephants returned that had fled into neighboring countries. Elephants and other animals have a lot to teach us about courtesy and peacemaking. In a village in Liberia, we met a man whose elephant dreams had flowed into daytime reality. Other villagers corroborated that when the elephants told him, for example, "Meet me at the pond on Thursday at noon," he would go there at the appointed time and find an elephant waiting for him. Soon the elephants instructed him where to plant his crops. He did as he was told. The elephants ate the other farmer's harvest, but left the dreamer's plot undisturbed. When he asked them why, they replied, "The others have forgotten their manners. They're cutting down too many trees and killing too many animals for no reason." One of the elders there told us that before the war, the people and the animals used to speak freely with each other and communicated well. He remembered when, as a young boy, there had been trouble in the river nearby. Crocodiles were attacking humans, and humans were killing the crocodiles in self-defense. The head elder of the village summoned the head elder of the crocodiles. The man telling the story said he remembered seeing the old croc walking slowly up to the old man's hut. There, the 2 leaders sat together all afternoon, discussing their shared dilemma. They came to an agreement that each group would have its own special bend in the river where they would each be safe. The agreement was still in force 50 years later, at the time we were told the story. People said they bathed, washed their clothes, and swam freely in their designated area without a crocodile in sight. A short distance away, the crocodiles basked in the mud, undisturbed. At the end of our meeting, an ex-combatant recounted a dream. He is pounding on his neighbor's door and shouting, "Is there mercy enough for me?" A question like that burrows deep in our soul and lays its eggs. It feeds on our unshed tears. Intuition, dreams, and synchronicities are the languages of the liminal world where human and beyond human meet. Logic cannot take us there. In 2016, inspired by a mysterious dream, my friend Deena Metzger and I returned to the site of previous meetings with elephants. We visited 2 other preserves where we hoped to find elephants whose communities were mostly intact. Everywhere we went, the elephants gathered to meet us. The desert elephants of Damaraland in Namibia reached their trunks into our vehicles to sniff our faces. Back in the US, we sat together to ponder what advice the elephants might have for us now. The elephants said, "Learn to listen with your feet. Then you will know what to do." Stories make images, images make memories, memories feed questions. What does it mean to inhabit a question? To invite the questions, the images, and the elephants themselves to inhabit us, and to notice where they take up residence in our bodies and in our lives. Those elephants, that soldier. Is there mercy enough for me? Is there mercy enough for us all? Not God's mercy, but our own, because they're one and the same. That's the point.
Aye woyo simbala nkonela jalubi woyo la dangoro bala. Aye woyo simbala nkonela jalubi woyo la dangoro bala.
Nancy Windheart is an internationally recognized animal communicator. She teaches Reiki and interspecies communication for all species. Her essay, Aspen Way of Knowing, represents the chapter, What We Know in Our Bones. In it, Nancy conveys her communication with the ancient consciousness of quaking aspen.
Aspen Ways of Knowing. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at about 7,200 feet of elevation, with the Sangre de Cristo mountain range, the southernmost sub-range of the Rocky Mountains, overlooking the city. The mountains are a primary habitat for the quaking aspen forest, or, as I call them, the aspen people. Aspen biology is in itself a teaching about community and interdependence. Stands or groves of quaking aspen are called clones because they are not a collection of individual trees. Rather, they are one organism with many shoots sprouting from its long lateral roots. Each tree is genetically identical, arising from and sharing the same root system, in aggregate called a clone. Aspen clones can be less than an acre and up to 100 acres in size. There can be one clone in an aspen grove, or there can be many. The largest and oldest known aspen clone is the Pando clone on the Fish Lake National Forest in southern Utah. Also known as the Trembling Giant, it is over 100 acres in size and weighs more than 14 million pounds, more than 40 times the weight of the largest animal on the planet, the blue whale. Pando has been aged at 80,000 years, although 5 to 10,000-year-old clones are more common. Considering the age, longevity, and perspective of even these younger clones compared to a human lifespan completely reorients my human perception of time. Over the last years, the aspen have taken me into a kind of apprenticeship and have been teaching me and training me in their wisdom, their ways of knowing, their perspective. I've devoted time on a regular basis to being among them, feeling their energy, listening to their perspective, understanding more and more deeply the role they play and the energy that they hold on our planet. January 2020. I come to the mountains in winter on a familiar trail where I often communicate with the aspen. On this winter afternoon, I come with my cross-country skis. There is a palpable sense in the forest, a shimmering, sparkling energy in the deep winter quiet. I feel so at home as I join my aspen friends on this winter afternoon. As I ski, I feel their presence, their beingness, their understanding. They speak to me about joy. I can feel their awareness of me, a small, rapidly moving creature with such a limited lifespan and experience compared to theirs. They give me a feeling, a sense, which my mind-body translates as joy flying. They show me that they send their energy through their roots, their stems, their leaves, their energy body as a brilliant shower of joy, sparkling, radiating far beyond their physical forms, flying the joy, flying their intelligence, their communication, their understanding into, above, around, and through the earth. And then this message comes clearly, with precise wording in my language. We dream the forest alive. We breathe the planet awake. I understand that they are engaged in a constant broadcasting of an immense vibration of healing, emanating grace, peace, and wholeness. As I write, I recognize that my words can only point to or approximate the vastness of the wisdom and understandings that the aspens share. Yet, I also understand that for me, and perhaps for my fellow humans, these distillations of the essence of their communications may be helpful in giving us a glimpse of their ways of knowing, perceiving, understanding, and being. As I attune with the energy of the aspen people, I feel their senses and wisdom permeating my awareness, my cells, and my consciousness. As I receive their transmission through the words, we dream the forest alive, we breathe the planet awake, I consider the possibility that this dreaming, breathing, awakening may be something that our species too can share. Can we open into our collective consciousness beyond our individual perspectives and dream the forests alive, healthy, flourishing, vibrant? Can we breathe our planet awake, healthy, whole?
You have been listening to readings from essays by Deena Metzger, Miriam Greenspan, Sharon Rodgers Simone, Cynthia Travis, and Nancy Windheart from the anthology Dark Matter Women Witnessing Dreams Before Extinction. This episode is the second of a 3-part series. Part 3 will air on November 3rd. All 3 episodes will remain as podcasts on the Writers Radio website, writersradio.ca. The anthology was edited from the first 10 years of the online literary journal Dark Matter Women Witnessing. It was published by Nature Culture, a women-run press in Northfield, Massachusetts. You can order the anthology direct from the website darkmatterwitnessing.com. Writers Radio is a nonprofit creative project of Ingrid Rose and Carol Harmon editorial and Gary Sill music and sound production. Thanks to the writers for joining me today, and thanks to you, dear listener.
You have been listening to Writers Radio, a non-commercial collaborative project which presents talented writers reading their own work. These stories, essays, and conversations revisit the long tradition of oral storytelling that connects us to the inspiration behind the words. Be sure to check the website, writersradio.ca, to subscribe to our free notifications list. It's also a way of letting the writers know you are there and appreciating their creative work.
Writers Radio broadcasts from Half Moon Bay on the Sunshine Coast in Canada, traditional tribal land of the Sechelt Nation of the Coast Salish peoples. We express our gratitude for their wisdom teachings and land stewardship.